The Watts riots. What began as a routine traffic stop turned into 6 days of violence, protest, and destruction, forever changing the relationship between African American communities and law enforcement. But what led to the Watts riots? But what did they say for the future of the civil rights in America?
Comprehension of the Watts riots. We have to travel back to the 1960s to the Los Angeles. The city was booming, but not for everyone. By the mid-60s, the African-American population in Los Angeles had surged, growing from 65,000 in the 1940s to more than 700,000. But while the white population enjoyed the fruits of prosperity, black Angelenos were relegated to the southern part of the city, Watts, where they faced systematic disadvantages like crowded housing, poor schools, and lack of economic opportunities. By the mid-60s, 2/3 of the residents in Watts didn't have high school diplomas, and unemployment rates were shockingly high. Many of the young men in Watts felt alienated, unable to find work, and facing constant discrimination. This combined the substandard healthcare and unfunded public infrastructure left the community feeling abandoned by the government and resentful of the widening gulf between the qualities of their lives and those of whites.
Next, on August 11th, a minor incident that triggered a sequence of events for an eruption. An African-American, Marquette Fry, that is 21 years old, was stopped by the police on suspicion of drunk driving. After failing a sobriety test, Fry was arrested. His mother had been a witness to the arrest, intervened, during which she was involuntarily hit by the officer's baton. A mob started to form, and the situation worsened when a pregnant woman, allegedly in the mob, spat on a police officer and was forced from a crowd and kicked. This incident spread quickly, and rumors of police brutality, especially the claim of a pregnant woman being harmed, enraged the community.
Escalation and the outbreak of violence. As word of the police treatment spread, tensions in Watts reached a boiling point. In the following days, fury directed at decades of police violence and racialized oppression erupted. What started as a localized protest exploded into violent rioting across the neighborhood. Looters ransacked stores, buildings were set on fire, but the violence soon did so to the adjacent neighborhoods, aggravating the conflict between the majority black community and the LAPD. Entire blocks of Watts were destroyed. The occurrence shocked the country and made the underlying racial tensions in America front and center of the national discussion.
However, what were the underlying reasons for the Watts riots? On the surface, it was a traffic stop turned deadly. However, it stemmed from a deep well of pent-up frustration. The African American community in Watts faced ingrained systematic issues, from police brutality to poor living conditions. Housing discrimination and the lack of good jobs trapped people in poverty. In addition, the inability of individual leaders to take care of the needs of black people served to a fan in flames.
Nevertheless, with the suggestion in place, a great number of the residents perceived the reforms as to be inadequate. The anger in Watts didn't dissipate overnight. The riots served as a wake-up call, which in turn triggered further activism, such as the formation of the Black Panther Party, and demanded deeper changes to deal with police violence and racial discrimination.
The Watts riots were not an isolated event. They were amongst the movement of racial protests across the United States in the 1960s and 70s, which originated from several decades of inequality and racial oppression. While the riots themselves ended after 6 days, their impact lasted far longer. They spurred greater awareness about the struggles of African Americans and led to more national discussions on race and civil rights.
While the Watts riots are usually recalled as an eruption of violence, they were in many respects a cry for justice. They were a time when a neglected and silenced community of people with long suppressed anger revealed that their pain could no longer be ignored. Although change was gradual, it provided a foundation for later calls for racial equality and justice.
The Watts riots of 1965 stand as a reminder of the power of frustration and the need of systematic change. They weren't just a moment of chaos, they were a cry for justice, a call that still echoes in communities today. Thank you for watching. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more history deep dives.